Hi, this is Phil, and I'm here to tell you all about the Capes and Lunatics Patreon. Don't miss out on our comic book creator interviews, including our monthly Chichester chats with comic book legend DG Chichester, superhero movie brackets in our search for the worst comic book movie of all time, and many, many more specials, all completely uncensored. Access starts for $3 a month, full video when you pledge $5 a month. Check out the link in our show notes or go to patreon.com/CapesandLunatics. Hope to see you there.
Avast me hearties, and welcome once again to Full Stream Ahead. I be your Captain Charlie, the Professor Esser, and with me as always is me first mate and skinny rich friend.
It's Mozz.
Welcome, Mozz. In a world of capes and lunatics, gods and monsters, sometimes you need a good lawyer, or two. That's when you call She-Hulk, Attorney at Law. Season 1, Episode 8, the penultimate episode, take a drink. Ribbit and Rip It. She-Hulk represents Leapfrog, who is injured due to a malfunction in his custom-made super suit. Tonight's director, of course, is Kat Corio. Writers are, of course, Cody Ziegler, our staff writer, created for television by Jessica Gao. John Buscema and Stan Lee get that She-Hulk created by credit. Dana Schwartz and Cody Ziegler, again, both working hard as staff writers. Oh my goodness. So much in this episode. And one of the things I do want to, I'm just going to be honest. I don't like Luke Jacobs.
Who's Luke Jacobs?
That is the designer. The designer.
I like him. Why didn't you like him?
Because he is a diva.
Right.
He is not a good businessman. He is rude to people because he can be.
Right.
And I do not like people like that. That is, it's nothing against the actor. The actor is a fantastic actor. But I hate him as much as I hate Todd. Wow. And in fact, I'm actually going to go out on a limb on this right now. I would say Luke Jacobs is in the intelligentsia and Todd is just a red herring. I'm good.
I think he's one of those characters that, like, he's endearing in his annoyingness. You know, It's like some people just turn the corner, and then once they turn that corner, they can do anything, and you always view it in that light. I think for me, at least, he's turned that corner, and I think they've really made us sort of love this character, and I don't think they would want to go back. They have something good here. I don't know.
Well, okay, because here's the big secret reveal. Okay, that they are just dragging their feet to get to. The money in super services isn't for superheroes. It is for supervillains. Superheroes very rarely need a lawyer, especially now that it has been established that the Sokovia Accords are gone. Superheroes don't need lawyers. Supervillains do. And supervillains are always going to need lawyers because, and this is actually, and I think this goes back to I'm agnostic about it, which we don't hear what's his name? It's Holloway. We don't hear what Holloway said in that walk and talk with Jen, where he's talking about, and like, of the words you hear is money, 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 money. And he's talking about the ethical quandary of superhuman law. And when she says, I'm agnostic about it, he says, interesting. Because you usually find people who are either going to say, I am more than happy to be a mob lawyer,
similar to journalists, where you have to have a measure of objectivity with the things that you report and not be swayed by your own biases.
Exactly. And that's the idea here, and that is what makes Jen a good lawyer. Because Jen knows the state is the biggest superpowered being. The state is going to be the one that has the power to grind superheroes and supervillains under a wheel because it's just presumed they're guilty. But the state still has to prove that. Just because someone can turn into a fine mist doesn't mean that just makes them guilty. And it is just because you have superpowers and maybe are committing crimes doesn't mean you committed this crime today.
Right.
And I think that's going to be this big reveal in the last episode. Because I got a lot of theories on where we've gone and where we've built into this. And, it goes into that thing we were discussing earlier about copagander versus lawyerganda, and how there is not really, well, actually there are good lawyerganda shows out there, like Family Law and other things where it is about that defense team. But of course, the juggernaut in the room, the juggernaut bitches, is Law and Order, which takes the lawyerganda perspective, but merges it with copaganda. Where suddenly it is this idea of, we're going to tell the lawyer's perspective as a part of the copaganda. So now we're going to we're going to find our guilty people, just like Columbo always does. And as Dick Wolf says, they'll be rich white dudes because no one cares when you attack rich white dudes. And we're going to see them as these heroes riding in to slay the dragon of the criminal. But I actually think that there is a place in this conversation for the fact that the state is more than happy to take the easy route and to just say, well, you were at the scene with superpowers. We're not gonna waste a lot of time on this. And I think that is a real perspective that She-Hulk can explore and has explored in the comics. And I think that's going to be the big reveal in that last scene where, it is going to be that, he says, well, we mostly defend supervillains. And Luke Jacobs mostly makes equipment for supervillains. Because, because you know what? They gotta, you need money if you want all these fancy suits. And there's a lot of ways to get money, and a lot of them involve nefarious activities. Exactly, Tristan.
What did he say?
He said, why would you get rid of good customers who give you money? Tristan is being very far away. I told him if he wants to comment, he has to come close so he gets picked up on the mic. But that is my delightful child.
Yeah, I mean, they're just making suits for people. What people choose to do with their suits, you can define them later on, but I don't think you can define his involvement in any one way or the other.
But I will make this very clear statement. I don't think Luke Jacobs gave detailed instructions on what sort of fuel to put into the jets. I do not think he expressly told him don't put in jet fuel. Because obviously, whatever he normally puts in there, first off, it might even be more potent than jet fuel, but it's designed to have that special, that special burn. And also, if you have a special kind of chemical you put into it, then you have a repeat customer guaranteed. Whereas if he goes out and then just buys commercial jet fuel and put it in there, it's not going to have the right burn ratio. It may actually be too cool when it burns because you need to have something that has a certain amount of explosiveness, but that, the system is designed to process it in this way, and now it's being made to process it in another way that it's not ready. It's like putting gasoline in a diesel engine.
Right. Nobody's going to sell you a car and not tell you not to put diesel in it or tell you what kind of fuel you need.
Yeah, exactly. But what it is you can put gasoline in a diesel engine and it will have
but
a
I'm saying,
effect.
of course Luke Jacobs told him what to put and what not to put. You don't buy a car without somebody telling you what
Yes,
to
put. But if all he said was, oh yeah, I'll provide you with the fuel, and it's X amount of dollars every time you want fuel, a lot of people are going to start saying, well, what exactly is this fuel?
But
why do I have to go to him?
I don't think that was said at all. He just told him, the instructions specifically told you what to put in there. I don't think he was saying you can only get it from me.
Well, I would wager that. See, that's an assumption on your part, and
so is it on yours.
Yes, I don't. Yeah, it's not showing up on the camera. Just it's dangling a skeleton over me.
Yeah.
Well, no, and granted, it's an assumption, and when you assume, you make an ass out of you and me. I would wait, but it is this idea of how is Luke Jacobson, and I want to make sure it's Luke Jacobson.
I feel like you have like a personal agenda against Luke Jacobson and are trying to find like the.
No, I just know how business people are. I know how business people are.
So somebody in business screwed you over that Luke Jacobson reminds you of, and you're like, that guy.
Well, you know what it is? It is that level of supervillain-esque confidence in his own work.
Right.
Okay.
But that's just artists. I think that's just artists.
Yeah. If you want to be on the show, you have to come down, okay? I
think artists are always like that. My stuff.
Well, yeah, many artists are, but not when it comes to product liability. Right. I mean, there are artists.
Though he's like, these aren't like big old businesses with HR departments and legal departments. This is just an artist, like underhandedly secret business. I doubt he even pays taxes. Right.
Well, I mean, that's a whole other bag of hammers, and that's an interesting.
No, but my point is, this is an artist. This isn't a business. You can't expect him to act like a business with like a PR department saying, he's.
But you know what?
He gets to be himself because he's running an independent little thing that's under the table, off the grid kind of thing.
Okay, but you know what? The minute you start charging money for your art, you're a business, especially. If you're charging enough money,
but like again, artists
especially if you're charging enough money for your art that you have security cameras and a secret lair and all of the things that you have for this. At a certain point, you do cross the line from being simply. So, for example, and this is one of the big things, is what happened to Melvin Potter. Who we know also did make stuff for supervillains all the time, was happy to. Because that's the business. Just like the Tinkerer. Happy to make stuff for the supervillains because that's the business. Money is money, Tristan, yes. And the reality is that once you cross that line, you can't just cross back. You can't suddenly have a moral compunction. Even in the idea that, so for example, people want to compare Luke Jacobs to what's her name from The Incredibles? Edna. But Edna very clearly was working on government contracts to suit up superheroes, specifically because she wanted to work with superheroes. And it's Edna mode. And that it's actually, there's even a fun fan theory that she intentionally sabotaged Syndrome because he likely came to her and said, you have to make my super suit. Says, okay, you get a cape. Just the idea that, if you want to come to me, I'm going to have this moral guidance. But in that level, the fact that he is immediately rejecting She-Hulk, who again,
personal reasons.
What?
For personal.
No, but even when she first shows up, first shows up, and he's being, first off, he's super into body shaming, which I do not like. I do not appreciate. And it's a freaking, she's an Avenger, okay?
Not
and
yet.
he's not getting Avenger.
Like 18 of the Avengers don't know she exists yet.
This is true. There aren't even 18 Avengers left. But yeah, but it is just this idea that, she has the bona fides, but he still has to put her down. And I don't like that as a personality trait.
Okay.
Maybe some people are into that, but to me, that's the toxicity.
Oof.
That's the toxic personality where it's like, dude, we, just like the book says, everybody poops and you do too. So don't act like you don't poop.
Yeah,
that's
but
just my opinion.
You know what I mean?
Well, but she doesn't. At no point is she like, you should do this for me because of who I am, aside from the fact that you have to understand my unique situation and kindly don't be mean to me about it.
Yeah, but I don't have to do anything for you either.
I mean, but the thing is that if you were a good person, you would do something for her because you want to be a person who is helping good people.
Yeah, but I don't owe that to you or to anybody. If I feel like it, whatever. This is, it's like a get out of my store. Mm-hmm. I can refuse that.
I mean, I understand your perspective. I just, like I said, the whole thing, and here's the thing, and again, like I said, you go to that client list.
I just don't think any of these things are such a big deal. Like life happens, you move on, you do things, you get things done. Getting hung up on these things, I don't know. It just.
Yeah, well, and again, I'm hung up on this because this is the job right now. We're doing a show about who these characters are and how they affect each other within the context of.
I don't think he's such a bad guy. I just think he's weird and eccentric. And because he has a unique set of skills, he has created a situation where he gets to be himself and express himself. And people either deal with it or they don't. You want a suit? Come over here. But this is me, So
yeah, well, that's and that's the thing. There are other characters like Big Rhonda, who I love. Big Rhonda is a character in Gwenpool, but she is based in New York, so that's a good reason why she's not here. But she. Again, see, that's the thing is like there are people like Big Rhonda who is more than happy to make super suits because this is a legitimate business, and she works in, like, I don't want to know what you're doing with it. But yeah, if this is what you need and this is what they have, they even stole one of Big Rhonda's jokes in this, which is the reason why Gwenpool wears the pink and white because she just had a bunch of extra bolts of pink and white. And sewed it up for her, and there you go. Now you have a super suit. It is, but what it comes down to is this idea of the industrialization of superhumanity, which is a real thing. And what I'm saying is, don't get too attached to the service personnel because they probably are more than comfortable doing bad as well. And that's the thing. I absolutely think that whatever has happened and transpired, Luke Jacobson is making outfits for the Constrictor and other groups like that. I actually even think there's even some wasn't there some Dr. Octopus claws in his shop? I don't know.
That would be a little much to put in there.
Yeah, I mean, I think there was some kind of armor that was like, I don't know. Now, of course, and again, when we get into this entire question about Leapfrog, and that is actually one of the most interesting aspects because Frogman, who is named Eugene, is a beloved character among super losers. He's a guy who has, first off, and he has pneumatic springs that allows him to jump, whereas this guy has like rocket boots. And so, I kind of feel like the rocket boots are one of the many ways that they're differentiating this Eugene from the real Eugene, who we may someday see. We may see a Eugene Jr. who wants to redeem the Frogman legacy in the same way that the original Frogman was trying to redeem his father's leapfrog legacy. Exactly, the leapfrog legacy.
Oh.
Yeah, and they do call him leapfrog throughout it.
Right.
So even though it's implied that his family is this rich supervillain client, or a client of GKL and H, Goodman, Kurtzberg, Lieber, and Holloway, even though they imply that, it is actually the reality that, they do a lot of business, and superhuman law is just something that they have to do now because, they had a lot of evil people working for them, Roxxon Corporation and all of these other groups that are very important and powerful in the world. And then, supervillainy just starts creeping in because, well, I guess we need to have some supervillains now. So, it makes sense that they follow through in that line. And to me, that's the thing. And that is this big thing. My big thing for the twist, is the secret identity of Hulk King, who I do not think is Todd.
No, but I don't like Todd.
No, I don't like Todd either, but I think Todd is just your average rich jerk who is obsessed with celebrity.
Right.
He's, and that's the thing. It's like,
and he's been co-opted or corrupted or whatever, but he's involved in the plot somehow. He might not be the head, but he's involved.
I actually don't even think he is. I don't even think he is. I think he's just like when he buys the spear, and that's the whole thing. He buys a Wakandan spear, but also mentions that he did a summer abroad in Wakanda, which means that he got, you're rich and there's a whole secret country.
You think they let him in there?
I think that if they're opening their borders, they got,
fair enough. Right.
They're opening their borders. You're going to have tourists.
Yeah.
And he comes in and I'm sure they have hotels in Wakanda and, and his money spends as good as anybody else's money.
True enough.
So, so why not? And he's there and he's absorbing the local culture. And granted, he's absorbing it with a jaundice. Yeah, man. No, it does make everyone a little uncomfortable.
Oh man, but they really nailed that cringe factor on that one.
Yes. But but again, it's this idea that I can totally see it being him, honestly, just wanting to be a part of the story and feeling that
Yeah, but he's not 50 eyes like he's up to something.
I know, but you know what? So do a lot of rich people.
Yeah, I know, but I'm trusting my gut on this one. Those eyes are telling me he's up to something.
I mean, I guess to me that's the low hanging fruit.
Fair enough.
To me, because that's the thing. It's like here's the deeper twist. I think Hulk King is Amadeus Cho.
Who's that?
Amadeus Cho is the 8th smartest man in the world.
He's also the Iron Spider in Ultimate Spider-Man. That's my favorite.
Yes, he's also the Iron Spider in Ultimate Spider-Man. And he is currently a character named Brawn because he did steal the Hulk's powers and became a super strong Hulk. And it is very interesting if you actually go back because, and again, it goes into this idea of perspective. Amadeus Cho, basically his story is he won a radio, well, he not a radio contest, but he won, a contest called the, what was it called? The Mastermind Excello Smartest Person in the World contest kind of thing. And he got so much money, for passing the Mastermind Excello quiz as the 8th smartest person in the world. Yeah, it's a good thing. And his basic shtick is he's one of these guys who, one of the things he always does is he'll throw something, it'll ricochet off 6 walls, and then hit you in just the right spot to make you unconscious.
Gotcha.
So he's always doing the math, and everything is a math problem to him.
Hey, it's kind of like what Daredevil's been doing this season with like ricocheting stuff and hitting people with his little.
Yes. Oh, we'll get to Daredevil in a minute because he beat that poor crippled guy.
What?
And there's a guy who is crawling away from him, and you see him just beat him. Unmerciful.
He's not a cripple. He's just,
has 2 broken legs.
5 seconds ago, he was just fine. This is still
but now,
the same scenario. They defined the difference between a goon and a henchman pretty well, which I appreciated. I thought that was really, really cool. And like, I think he deserved it. He was asking for it. And he got it.
I don't think it's right for anyone to beat someone who is crawling away. I don't think I see. That's just me. And see, that's
what if he goes and grabs a phone and calls for backup, and all of a sudden the jig is up.
Well, but the jig is already up. I mean, that's the thing. They're breaking into this.
I'm saying, like, we're involved in fighting. There's no room for niceties. It's a different level that we're engaging.
Except they're fighting. Except they're fighting leapfrog. Like if this was a Hydra base, maybe you can make that argument. But I actually think that there is, in fact, when you have his lawyer working with you, who likewise immediately comes in and says, I am helping you, I am your lawyer, you need to stop this right now. Maybe we can make this argument about, temporary insanity, yada, yada, yada. Okay, well, formulate your thought and then add it in a moment. Well, yeah, I mean, that was one of the things. It's like, at the very start of this, which Matt can hear, the 2 guys are like talking about how they're not into this gig. They are hired goons. They are, and I forget which one they said are hench and which are goons. I really don't care. These guys are clearly hired workers. They're not there because of the ideology of Leapfrog.
Sure.
They're not seeking to further the Leapfrog agenda. They are literally there for a paycheck. And the fact of the matter is, when you beat a crippled man unmerciful, I'm sorry, did you see his legs move, Mozz?
Before he got hit, yes.
Well, yeah, after he crippled him.
Nobody diagnosed him as a cripple. Nobody said on a form, yes, he's a cripple. You know what I mean?
Okay,
he was a regular guy who hurt his leg and then was trying to get away after being caught for doing something nefarious and evil.
What I can say, well, first off, what is he doing that's nefarious and evil aside from guarding a compound? Now, Leapfrog has done something nefarious and evil.
Yeah, and you're guarding that guy. You're intending and threatening to do violence upon somebody that tries to do something to him, right?
Yeah.
That intention, that threat, that saying to the universe, hey, this is who I am. I'm ready to do violence again. Okay, that's got to mean something.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I agree with you to a certain extent, but I also think that we have to keep in check the violence. Because if nothing else, one of the things that we see in this is how quickly violence escalates when Jen decimates a parking structure when she's trying to stop Daredevil, who is trying to stop Leapfrog, who has kidnapped Luke Jacobs. And again, this is one of these things where, had Matt Murdock called Jennifer Walters and said, yes, it appears that your client has kidnapped my client. He's at a place called, the Lily Pad. And, maybe they could have solved this earlier.
No, but I think Matt Murdock in his mind has gotten to a place where he even says it to her. You can do certain things as a lawyer, but there's certain things you can't do as a lawyer that you need this other side of yourself to be able to.
Well, yeah, but again, within that statement, is that a true statement?
I don't know, but
is that a true? Yeah, he believes it, but again, that's one of these.
I'm just saying that's why he didn't call Jen Walters, right?
I know, but this is why I say Matt Murdock is a bad lawyer.
Right. No, I agree with you there.
I'm waiting for Legal Eagle to do a whole thing on the She-Hulk series.
I hate that they give him opportunities to keep saying, because I'm a good lawyer. I was like, oh, are you really?
Yeah. Where were you a good lawyer except in the fact that, like I said, Foggy Nelson is a good lawyer. I would love to see a Foggy Nelson cameo.
Come on, they need to bring Foggy Nelson back.
Yes, they do. But anyway, yeah. And that's the thing, is she's taking advice from a bad lawyer.
Yeah.
Yes, he won the case mostly because, well, yeah, he used his powers, but more importantly, Jen did not do proper discovery. She should have done proper discovery, and she knows that. And that's the thing, is like too much got laid on her, and she did not do proper work because she did not take the job seriously. That was the problem. She was too worried about the Luke Jacobs gown to really address us. And then she let her passions run away with her, which of course is true for Hulk, which is what Hulk was trying to say. In many ways, for all of the complaints about earlier episodes, all of their complaints are being addressed about what the danger is with rage when you're a Hulk. Because yes, you know, she is much more adept at controlling her rage, but that doesn't mean she doesn't get angry. She can still experience a normal amount of rage. And when we get to the final scene where she gets doxxed at the Female Lawyer of the Year Awards, which honestly, again, of all things that seem staged, this seems somehow more staged than the wedding.
Yes, because like her other lawyer friend knew she was getting the award. Somehow all the other women knew that it was going to be all these women. She was the only one that seemed under the impression that she was the only one getting the award. Yeah,
because I get the feeling they give it out every year to all of these top lawyers, you know?
Right.
And it doesn't mean they're not because trust me, there's a lot more than 8 female lawyers in LA.
Right.
You know,
I found it interesting that also that they gave the award to Jen Walters and she shows up as She-Hulk.
Yes.
I thought they would have given the award to She-Hulk.
Well, no, because they're giving it to Jen Walters She-Hulk. And her legal name is Jen Walters.
I guess. Yeah.
And she even makes the joke about that when it comes into it.
No, he said Jennifer She-Hulk.
Oh, Jennifer She-Hulk. Yeah, in the common parlance. Just like how it's Dwayne The Rock Johnson. So in this moment, she thinks she's going to be the only recipient, but, you know, she's not, obviously. You know, and not for nothing, there's a lot of awards that work like this because award shows sort of operate on self-congratulation. You know, so it's like, yeah, we're going to have these awards and we just need people to show up and no one's going to buy a table at the event unless they're getting an award.
Yeah, that's super shady though. That's really, really not cool.
Yeah, but you know, and to be fair, it's like even groups that are like legitimate groups like bar associations will set up things like this. But if they're going to do an event, you know, you need to pay for the event. And if you're going to pay for the event, you need people to come and buy tables and, you know, receive awards. It's weird. I'm not in that business myself, but I understand how that business works. Anyway, so she gets doxxed by the intelligentsia in this, which I found really interesting. And again, she makes this point. It's like, do you want to know who She-Hulk really is? And she's like, I don't have a secret identity, you know?
Yeah.
You
and
know,
what were they really trying to prove? What does that show? It doesn't say anything about anything. It's just...
No, it's a bunch of stuff, and it's her being... I mean, literally what they wanted to do was they wanted to slut-shame her.
Like, it doesn't...
No, I know, it doesn't matter, but you know what, it would be rough, you know, so there are nude photos of me out there. I've been to Burning Man, and these things exist. And, well, I'm not ashamed of them, and these were things that were taken with my consent. If stuff was taken without my consent, yeah, and especially if it involves other people, and particularly recent rape betrayals, which Josh.
It just seems like doing that only gains sympathy to her cause from people. It doesn't make her look bad. It's a counterproductive.
And to be fair, that's what Mallory tells her in that moment, because Mallory sees what's about to happen, and she tells her, "Don't."
Yeah.
Don't, because she knows. Yeah, I know you want to do that right now.
I guess the point was to get her to Hulk out. That's what they wanted to show.
Well, they wanted to put her in a dangerous situation where she is causing damage. And by that point, to be fair, because she did leave a note at the parking structure.
Yeah.
You know, the Department of Damage Control was already there. You know, like they knew that, oh, we better just watch this because things are getting out of hand here, you know?
Wait, hold on. Technically, if She-Hulk didn't say that, if She-Hulk didn't leave a note, would they have just thought it was just some random superhero that caused trouble in the parking lot? So if she didn't write a note, they wouldn't have found it?
No, they probably had cameras, although, you know, it's also possible that someone could have blamed it on an earthquake, but because it is LA. But in this moment, you know, they do a lot of damage, and both heroes do a lot of damage, especially because both heroes are acting like they don't have to follow process or procedure.
Daredevil doesn't do that much damage. Most of the damage caused
Well, only because he can't.
Yeah,
You know, I mean,
the damage caused by him is him being hit by things, I think.
yeah. But the real point of it is just that this is what, and this is where I'm going to say this is going to be the big thing that Jen embraces at the end. It's like, no, I am a lawyer, and I am specifically a defense lawyer. And yes, it's nice when I get to defend good people against Roxxon, but just because you're Roxxon doesn't mean you just are automatically assumed guilty.
Right.
You know, you need to be defended. And I think that's what we're going to get at the end of this. And I think that because the whole thing with Amadeus Cho being the Hulk King, oh, by the way, I do love that he's Hulk _King when they flashed it, which actually means that on that server, someone else already had the name Hulk King.
That's funny.
He's like,
Or maybe they just don't allow spaces on that server.
True, but usually then you just put the words together, like my own name, Charlie Esser.
Or you put a period.
Yeah, or you put a period. There's several ways you can do it. The use of the underscore, I think, is specifically shows that, you know, there was already someone using the name and he couldn't get it.
Well, why couldn't he just use Hulk King but replace the I with a 1?
I mean, he could do that too. There's lots of ways you could do it, but really in that situation, it's actually really sad that you know that there were like several other options that they used and none of them were available. But anyway, I think it's Amadeus Cho expressly because Amadeus Cho was a big stan of the Hulk and was always willing to excuse his destruction of Harlem, his breaking of things, but that let me talk that you know, because he said, but no one died, as if all that matters in a person's life is that they don't die. And there's actually a really good scene in the World War Hulk series, which is where he's introduced, where he is honestly just the biggest jerk you're ever going to meet. He's very unlikable, even as he is also very likable, you know, much in the way that you feel about Luke Jacobs, and maybe I feel a bit more empathy towards Todd about, you know, it's like
he's a smarmy worm. I hate that guy's face.
Oh yeah, you know, I hate him too.
I think they want me to, and I'm happy.
No. But see, to me, I think that they want you to hate him, especially because at the end of the day, he's not doing anything horrific.
Yeah, he's like that guy that goes, "I'm not
rich.
touching. I'm not touching."
Exactly.
I'm not, you know, like, ugh. Hate that guy.
Exactly, Tristan. I think he's meant to be a red herring. That you're meant to be focusing on this obvious rich jerk, and then you don't think about, oh, what are the other options?
Yeah, well,
who are the other people who could be the
year.
rich jerks?
He turns out to be the bad guy. Oh,
no. Well, yeah. Well, then you can rub it in my face next week.
A bad guy, like he's definitely involved in the plot somehow.
Yeah, but like I said, see, to me, and it's one of these weird things where it's like, you know, if I wanted to be a supervillain, I'd be a supervillain. I don't want to be a supervillain. I want to just enjoy living in a world where superheroes exist and sort of just be a tangential hanger on. You know, it's like a person who, you know, they don't necessarily want to be a celebrity, but they really want to go to the party. You know, they want to go to the party where Black Panther is at.
Right.
And, you know, and quite frankly, if that's sort of that thing, if he was invited to Wakanda to return the spear, I could totally see this idea of him being honored as this guy who reclaimed the spear for Wakanda. And they threw a little party for him, just like the lady lawyer party. And he got to say, this is given by Todd, whatever my last name is, to you.
He'll go in the history books as a hero for our people for bringing back our property that was stolen from us years ago.
Exactly. Well, to be fair, we don't know when this was stolen. This could have been one of the ones that was like left in South Korea. When they left the car and everything else there when they had to run.
Yeah, but no, that's the way to approach that situation. Somebody should have went and pitched that idea to him. They would have gotten it back real easy.
Oh yeah. Well, but that's the thing. But that's the thing about legal issues. They're raising a thing, and then a good lawyer in the negotiation process raises up. Okay, well, how about if he gives it back to you, and we're gonna make a little ceremony, make him feel special, let him meet the Black Panther if he's still alive at this point, or whoever the current Black Panther is. Maybe get Luke Cage to show up and take some photo ops with him. All because that's what he wants. He wants that. He wants that Instagrammable stuff to say, "This is the world I live in." So and I think that although it's creepy, it's not evil.
Right, but I think also people like that are easily corruptible, easily bought.
Yeah, or they are actually the hardest to buy because they're already rich. So they're
not by money, but bought by access, bought by things like meeting this person. Oh, you'll get a piece of this if you do. Oh yeah. When that desire is so strong, they're easily led and directed.
Yeah, and that can be the case too. But like I said, there's also the counter explanation, which is like there's also some sort of smug joy in not being a Nazi. Like, I'm not going to join Hydra. I know that you're Nazis. So, expressly because I know you're Nazis, I get to refuse you because I don't need your money. And there's not really anything you can give me aside from, meeting the latest Red Skull,
Or an object of power.
But does he actually want an object of power, except to put on his mantelpiece? It's like if he had an Infinity Gauntlet on his mantelpiece, he's like, oh yes, that old thing. Sort of like Odin's throne room, You can have an Infinity Gauntlet in your throne room.
But just to look at.
Yeah, but just to look at. It's like, he's, it's like the Great Gazoo. If you ever remember from the Flintstones, the Great Gazoo, why he's sent to the primitive world of Earth is because he created a button that would destroy everything in the universe if he just pushed the button. Since I was never going to use it, I just wanted to be the first one on my block to have one.
That's funny.
And they just deemed that too far beyond the pale, and they sentenced him to be the magical Martian for Fred and Barney. So, but that's the idea, and that to me, that's who Todd is. He's just a guy who wants to have it. He doesn't necessarily want to be. He doesn't want to use it. He's not going to use it to like try and pierce Jen's flesh. But it's meant to be that red herring to send you down that lane. That's the thing. They're using the red herrings expressly for that purpose.
Okay.
That's my idea. Because I think it's too obvious if they're not. If they do go that obvious route, okay, I'll you'll allow it because.
Yeah, I don't know if it's that complex of a show.
I think it is. I think it's a lot more complex than people are giving it credit for. And maybe I'm wrong. But to me, it's like
next week. She did mention the Red Hulk, so I'm excited for that.
Yeah,
has it been confirmed that it's Harrison Ford or not yet?
No. I don't think any of that is. Well, I guess there was something. Maybe they're saying there was something at a Comic-Con.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Recasting.
I don't know why they wouldn't just do. I think was it Sam Elliott or?
Oh, that would be great. Yeah,
the guy who played Thunderbolt Ross in the Ang Lee Hulk.
Yeah. Because
there is another variant Thunderbolt Ross. I actually don't see Harrison Ford as a Thunderbolt Ross type. That's my honest opinion. I think he's too soft spoken for the role. It's like, it's because
he's a really good actor. I think
he's a really good actor, but it's like, could you imagine him as J. Jonah Jameson as an example?
I mean, I think if he put his acting chops to work, he could make me believe it.
Okay. I mean, maybe. It's entirely possible. And honestly, if they do that stunt casting, it it's going to be acceptable. I'm sure it's going to be wonderful. But I kind of feel like, you know what, there's enough actors out there that can embody that role again. Especially, like I said, with the possibility, and I hope I'm remembering his name correct, that it's Sam Elliott. I think that is one that's going to be a lot more acceptable to people, and also probably a little cheaper for the company. Yeah. Harrison Ford costs money if you want him to do a movie nowadays.
Absolutely. But it's become like, you know, that status symbol now in Hollywood. Everybody wants to have done a Marvel movie. It's turned the corner, and now everybody wants to be in one.
Yeah, but I don't know if he's going to want to be a Red Hulk. And you got to remember, like, General Ross is a real central character.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, and to be fair, he really likes playing Indiana Jones to the point where he has, like, said, no one else will ever be Indiana Jones. That is my baby. I mean, and honestly, to me, that kind of feels like a little Dr. Smithian, where, like, you know, the actor who played Dr. Smith wanted to come back and play Dr. Smith again in the reboot series. And they were like, you're 100 years old, man. I don't know if this is going to work. It's like, well, what about Dr. Smith says he's a young man? You know, and it's a fair cop, but also it's a weird thing too. Yeah. And it's like, I don't know, man. You know, I don't know if he is looking to be part of another franchise at this point in his career. You know,
yeah,
because he has Indiana Jones. I mean, he's already going to do.
They were able to find enough money to bring Wolverine back.
Yeah, but he was already in the franchise.
Fair enough.
You know, that's the thing. It's like that. But
one I think was the lack of desire to be part of like a big concept sort of thing for a long amount of time is the same for both of them. And if they were able to bribe him back, I'm sure they could find something to get him there.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I guess I just come back to the fact that he really hated Star Wars.
Yeah.
And it's like, every day, is there any way you can kill me this episode? Please. I'm begging you, George. I'll be Indiana Jones forever. Just kill Han Solo. That's my only request. You know? Which is weird, because I think Han Solo's a cool character. I don't know why he's so mad about it, except that maybe it's in space and he doesn't like to go to space. I don't know.
I think maybe he's always been like the old curmudgeon.
Yeah, I don't know. It's entirely, well, you know, but for what it's worth, that's why he was so good in that, because Indiana Jones and Han Solo are both always, even when they're young, they're still very curmudgeonly.
Yeah.
and you know, see, and that's my biggest thing is I don't think of Ross as a curmudgeon.
Right.
I see him as more angry and rage-filled. Which is why he's a perfect Red Hulk. Yeah. You know? And so it's like I don't know how many times I've seen Harrison Ford be angry and rage-filled. But that's just my opinion. We see that at the gala, you know, they do the doxing. And we see that there's a bunch of people in their masks, you know. And that's the other thing is I do get the feeling these are younger people, which Amadeus Cho is a teenager.
Oh.
So the idea that this is just like, you know, a bunch of little wannabe hackers, you know, in the background who are just total Hulk stands, and they're not, and they don't necessarily need to be the intelligentsia. They just may be co-opting the name. And in fact, maybe you might get something like the leader actually is manipulating them, saying, well, now you're in the intelligentsia too. You're just like us Hulks. Why don't you go, and what are we going to do about this woman who has stolen the Hulk's power? You know? Because, and of course, it's because when you think about the timeline, there was a Hulk. Then he moderates his power to be back to Banner, so suddenly we don't see the Hulk anymore. All of a sudden, when She-Hulk shows up on the scene, Hulk is now off-world. And so everything looks like this is this person who has decided to steal the Hulk's power, and Hulk is gone. And because she hasn't told everyone, no, it was just a freak accident with me and my cousin's off-world right now, because no one asked her, and why is she going to volunteer this?
Right.
It allows for a conspiracy to fill the void.
Right.
And the conspiracy is she stole her cousin's power.
Yeah, they did mention something like that, a power that you didn't deserve or that you didn't earn, something like that.
Now, my other theory is that Ched is the actual head of the intelligentsia that we see.
Oh my god.
But
that would be terrible.
That would be terrible, except it would be like this big reveal. No, I am the genius in the family and I deserved the powers the whole time. I don't think that's who Ched is, but I will say that Ched is always there at times where Jen's life is being screwed up.
Yeah.
Like with the She-Hulk items, where he brings it to her. No, I'm just trying to help you with your gig.
Right.
That's not me.
Right.
You know, it's like, he's at the wedding where she shows up. So I don't know, man. Maybe there's something there, or maybe he's just meant to be the comic relief. You know, I think he's just comic relief too. Although I do like Ched.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be a big twist, but I think the bigger twist is Amadeus Cho, and you give him a redemptive arc at the end where maybe the Hulk shows back up again and says, "Why are you doing this, Amadeus?" Like, well, she stole your power. He's like, "No, she didn't. What are you talking about, you stupid little kid?"
Yeah.
And then he has to go and become, okay, I made a mistake. I'm sorry, Jim.
I hope so. Well, I mean, I hope it's something more interesting than that. I hope there's bigger, deeper reasons, like of getting the blood to create the Red Hulk, and that Valerie's involved.
Well, other people could be. That's the thing. And that's where a character like the leader, who is maybe manipulating a guy like Amadeus Cho, who is, we will remember, is only the 8th smartest person in the world, which means he's super smart. And one thing about super smart people is the smarter they think they are, the easier they are to fool. Because they go, "Oh, wow." Exactly.
My perception, my judgment is unquestionable. So it's
exactly. Yes, he's actually like, 3 or 4. So he's right up there with the rest of them. Yes, he probably could trick Amadeus Cho. All right. So there's a lot of cool people. Oh, big pitch. Danny DeVito should be cast as the Red Ghost.
Oh.
If they decide to do that with the Fantastic Four, is have Danny DeVito come back as the Red Ghost. If you've ever seen the Red Ghost, this is the Russian attempt to recreate the Fantastic Four event, where the Red Ghost is this little short fat scientist with his 3 super. Is it 3? I can't remember if it's 3 or 4 super apes, but they all go into space. They get cosmic radiated, and they come back, and like the gorilla has magnetism powers. The Red Ghost can become intangible. In each of his super apes that he is trained and respond to his mind, are super powered, are really cool. And so that's my big pitch.
That sounds really fun.
Yeah, I would love to get me some super apes and the Red Ghost played by Danny DeVito. I know the man can do a Russian accent, I'm sure. And he would be perfect. Put him in that red fur-lined jumpsuit. That man is going to chew that scenery like it was made of Melba toast. So, all right, Mozz, any final thoughts on tonight's episode before our penultimate episode? Take a drink.
No, I think I'm all out.
Before we get to take a vape. Before we get to our final episode, what are your thoughts? Where are we going next? Big predictions, Mozz.
I don't know if I have any predictions. I just hope it's a satisfying ending to a fun ride. I hope it's not something as silly as just a bunch of kids being goofy, thinking that she stole her powers. I hope that there's a deeper conspiracy that is revealed that actually is real. They mentioned Red Hulk. It'd be nice to send us a little further down that road.
They could always bring back, was it Liv Tyler who played Betty Banner? Bring her back as the Red She-Hulk. That would be pretty cool.
A Red She-Hulk. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, because there's a Red She-Hulk too.
Oh,
because that. Oh, yes.
Oh.
Yeah, she actually has a really cool story. Where she's actually an agent of the original Brotherhood of the Shield. There's so much lore.
Wow.
And honestly, it's all there. And Feige, God bless his heart, he has moved all the pieces to where stuff that's in the comics can come back at any time
Mm.
And we can definitely get the revelation of the ancient Brotherhood of the Shield. But he doesn't have to if it's not the exact right moment. So that's what's beautiful about comic books, about created lore and everything else that we're dealing with. So, yeah, I've already given all my predictions. So, Mozz, if people would like to reach out to you, how can they find you?
Oh, they can email me at mozzmanzor@gmail.com or find me on Facebook under Mozz Manzor. That's MOZZMANZOOR.
And meanwhile, kids, if you would like to write to us and talk to us about all the wonders that are She-Hulk, are all the things that stream in the night, you can write to us at CapesandLunatics@gmail.com. That's CapesandLunatics@gmail.com. That's all one word, all spelled out. You can likewise call us and leave us a voicemail at 614-382-2737. That's 614-38-CAPES, if you remember how there's a way to transpose letters into numbers on a telephone. And of course, go down to Linktree, linktr.ee/CapesandLunatics, and buy all of our merch, like aluminum mugs, and just give us money on Patreon, where you will get to vote on what we do on these shows. You can be a participant in the world of the Capes and Lunatics friends. So we really encourage you to do that. We are wrapping up the worst superhero movies of all time. And you can vote on that, and you can also vote on what we do next. Meanwhile, if you just want to write to me, myself, Charlie Esser, old man of the comic books, you can do so at superconnectivityblog@gmail.com. That's superconnectivityblog, all one word, at gmail.com. And Superconnectivity is coming back probably in November. And, of course, you can always follow me when I live tweet things when I feel like it at Charlie Esser. That's CharlieEsser. Look for the 2 E's in the middle.
For quality. Bing!
Thank you, Mozz. All right, yeah, filthy landlubbers. You've come through the gauntlet of the internet and all the streaming there is to see. Thank you for joining us. And please come aboard next week as we once again sail full stream ahead. Arrgh.